Today's tutorial is on drawing clouds, as requested by many of you. We will learn how to draw clouds and sky with markers. I'll be showing you how to use both chisel tip and brush tip markers to draw. In Chapter 1, we will start by practicing the basic forms and shading of clouds, and I will be sharing some helpful tips to make it easier for you to draw clouds. In Chapter 2, I will demonstrating how to use brush tip markers to create a beautiful scene. And in Chapter 3, I will show you how to use chisel tip markers to draw. To draw the sky, all you need is one medium shade of blue marker. Of course, you can experiment with other colors you like. For both drawing, I will be using mixed media paper. I have listed all the art supplies in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. Before we dive into the more intricate drawing, we will start with some simple practices to warm up. As I have mentioned in my previous tutorials, a circle can be used as a guide to draw the shape of the cloud. To draw a single cloud using a triangle composition, start by sketching circles of different sizes, then trace the outer shape of the circles to create a fluffy cloud. It may not look like the clouds we'll be drawing later, but be patient, we will get there soon. Next, let's take a closer look at shading. When coloring clouds with markers, it's important to make use of the paper's white as part of the color. To achieve shading, imagine a sphere and visualize how the light falls on it. If the light source is from the upper left, we will apply darker colors only on the lower right side of the sphere, using curved strokes. You can use either the chisel tip or the brush tip for this, and you will see me using them interchangeably. Before layering more ink to darken the color, I will wait the first layer of ink to dry a little. In the meantime, let's practice drawing another form. Simply follow the object's contour with your marker strokes. For the first layer, use less pressure to create a lighter shade of the blue. After the first layer of ink is dried a little, use the same marker, add darker values to the core shadow part. If you have a blender marker, you can use it to soften the edge of the shadow, and if you have a gel pen, you can use it to add some highlight. Now let's practice drawing a cloud using what we just learned. First, draw a triangle as a guide for the cloud's composition. Next, draw several different sized circles to help create nice curves for the cloud. After that, erase all the overlapping lines to clean up the sketch. The cloud may still look like many bubbles together, but we will fix that in the next step. To make the cloud look more natural, draw some small curves following the large curves. Lastly, to create more layers of cloud, draw curved V-shaped lines to the middle of the cloud. Next, grab your eraser and gently remove some of the pencil outlines, leaving just enough to guide you while you add colors. Start at the bottom of the cloud and add shading by following the curves you drew earlier. While we wait the ink to dry, let's color the sky. Once the ink has dried, add a few more strokes to the bottom of the cloud to enhance the depth. In the daylight, clouds tend to have a brighter and whiter appearance. I will avoid adding too many details to the light areas because it will compete with core shadow. My goal is to create a range of light to mid-tone values in the shading to add volume to the cloud. And there you have it, a simple cloud drawing created using just one marker. Let's begin by drawing a group of clouds together. Start with some big curves to outline the overall shape of the cloud. Then add small curves to define the details. Don't overlook the tiny curves as they can make the clouds look more natural. Once you finish the outline, gently erase the pencil marks. We can start by tracing the contour first, then add shadows between each layer of cloud. To give your drawing more depth, adjust pressure and speed of your strokes to vary the shades of blue. Start with a light touch and swift strokes for the first layer. Gradually increase pressure and slowing down to add darker values. Remember, the shadow part of the cloud should not be a solid, flat color. It should have a range of light to dark values to make the cloud look bumpy. As the light source is from the upper left, I slightly brush the right side of the cloud to add shading. If you have a slightly darker blue marker, you can use it to keep adding darker values, but it is optional. Here, we can use a gel pen to draw some highlights. This is basically the final look. It's pretty simple overall. The difficult part is to draw a nice shape of the cloud and decide where to add dark values. I'm going to show you some commonly used strokes, using both brush and chisel tips. There isn't a huge difference between them in this tutorial. It's more about how you use them intentionally. I recommend using the chisel tip for filling in the sky color. It covers more area quickly. For shading the cloud, we will primarily use curved strokes. And for coloring the sky, we will use horizontal strokes. When you are ready, let's dive in and have some fun drawings. Let's draw a landscape scene with fluffy cloud and green grass field. You can totally use chisel tip to draw as well, which I will demonstrate in the next drawing. We will follow the same technique we learned earlier, starting with sketching out large curves to guide us, then draw smaller curves to complete the cloud's shape. Getting the cloud shape just right can be very tricky. It's tough to decide which part should be higher or lower to make it look more balanced. But if you are struggling, try the method we practiced before. Draw a bunch of circles to help create the shape of the cloud. This method has helped me in other cloud drawing tutorials. For this drawing, I want to use some bright and cheerful colors to create a cozy feeling. I hope it will bring you a sense of peace and happiness as well. To draw the grass, you will need at least 2 shades of green, while for the sky, a light to medium shade of blue is perfect. If your blue is too dark, it will be tough to create a light value. And if it's too light, it will be hard to create a darker shade. So go for a light to medium shade, which will work well for the clouds in the daylight. Alright, first thing first, let's fill in the sky with some colors. I'm going for horizontal strokes here. If you have a chisel tip marker, I recommend to use it. It will be much quicker to fill in the color. To give the clouds a sense of volume, I start by drawing shadows between each layer of the clouds. Since the light source is coming from the upper left, I focus on adding shading to the right side of each cloud. As I mentioned earlier, for the first layer of ink, use swift strokes and apply less pressure to create a lighter shade of blue for the light value. The marker stroke direction is an important element in your drawing. The direction in which you draw your lines can affect the overall feel and the mood of your artwork. Horizontal strokes in drawing can create a sense of relaxation and harmony. When coloring the grass, try to follow the curve of the ground with your marker strokes. I made a mistake here by drawing some straight lines, which made it look a bit off. To fix it, later I will add some small details to make it blend better with the rest of the drawing. Remember, always use light color first, leaving some white space for drawing flowers. After the first layer of blue has dried a little, I continue use the same blue marker to layer more ink in the shadow area to make it darker. If you have a blender marker, you can use it to soften the edge of your shading. Here, the right side of the shading is not as dark as the core shadow due to the presence of the reflected light. Let's add more details to our grass by drawing strokes that mimics the shape of the grass blades. Use a darker shade of green to draw some plants to get a pointy shape. Gently press down your brush tip and then lift it at the end. If you are curious about how to use a chisel tip to draw a grass field, check out my How to Draw Mountain tutorials. I will put the link in the upper right corner. The cloud is mostly finished. I'm using a second shade of blue to create a slightly darker value. This step is optional, as it doesn't make a big difference. Instead, you can simply use the same blue markers to layer in more ink. Use a gel pen to draw some grasses and add highlights to the edge of the cloud. It will add depth to our drawing. Don't be too hard on yourself if your drawing don't turn out exactly as you imagined. Start with some warm-up exercises to get comfortable with your materials and develop confidence. Then gradually move on to more challenging drawings. Remember to enjoy the process and don't be afraid of making mistakes. They can often lead to unexpected and beautiful results. In the final stage, I will fine-tune some details and continue to blend the sky to make it smoother. I don't want to use too much ink, so the sky may still look slightly uneven. But I don't think it will affect the overall look of the drawing. I hope you liked this drawing. If you want to learn how to use chisel tip to draw clouds, stay tuned for the next chapter. Welcome to Chapter 3 of this tutorial. We will learn how to draw a night scene using chisel tip markers. The method is same with the previous chapter. First, we will sketch the overall shape of the cloud using big curves, and then add tiny curves to clarify the details. You will need at least 2 shades of your preferred color to draw clouds, 1 medium shade and 1 dark shade. While I'll be using more colors in this drawing, but it is optional. When filling the color for the sky, I prefer to start from the edge and work my way towards the center to avoid leaving marks in the middle of the drawing. The difference in stroke shape between the two drawings is not very noticeable, since I try to blend the ink more to create soft edges. It's important to pay attention to the angle at which you hold your marker while drawing. I want to start with a lighter layer and gradually add more ink to darken it. When I start drawing, I don't always have a clear idea of how the final result will look like. Gradually layering the ink helps me to visualize and think through my drawing process as I go. If I were to recreate this drawing again, it would be much faster because I would already know where to add dark colors and where to leave more white space. Same with the previous drawing, I'm starting by coloring the edge of each layer of cloud first to create a shadow. This scene is going to have more shading and contrast compared to the last drawing. When we use chisel tip markers, the strokes will have sharp edges, but we can use a blender marker to soften them. At night, the clouds can appear darker and more dramatic. In terms of shading, Daylight clouds tend to have more subtle shading, with a range of light to mid-tone values. In contrast, night clouds can have more distinct shading, with a range of light to dark values. These night clouds will have more defined shapes and edges, with more visible layering and depth. After the first layer of ink is dried a little, I'm using the first color again to add darker values. When you have limited markers, it's important to use the same marker to create different shades. It is important to consider the overall form and lighting of the entire drawing as we work on each individual cloud. Focusing only on one part at a time without considering how it fits into the larger scene can result in an unbalanced drawing. Now I will use a darker lavender color to add more shadow. Unlike the previous drawing, I want to add more gradient to the sky in this one to give it more layers. But before I continue to add more dark value, let's use a gel pen to draw some highlights. I'm using the pen to trace a few edges of the cloud to refine the shape. We have finally reached the final stage of this drawing. From here, I will go back and forth to fine-tune some small details. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have learned how to use both the chisel tip and the brush tip to draw. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I will see you in the next tutorial.